Jason, you wrote a tremendous article on it. You talked to Donovan in the locker room after the Indiana game and got some answers to the question a lot of Cavs fans have been asking for about 2.5 months now. What the hell really happened to Donovan Mitchell's knee, and how did he get hurt? And you were the first reporter to get the actual answer. So please inform us all, enlighten us all, and give us some clarity on Donovan's right knee.
Yeah, I was just confused as to how it all happened because he looked fine. And I told him, you look fine at All-Star to me. Like, you looked all right to me. You didn't really notice anything. And all of a sudden, he comes back from All-Star. And at first, it was they were giving him a couple extra days of rest. And then it was, I think they said he was sick or something. And then it came out about this knee thing. And it just wasn't adding up. It just didn't make sense. And so I just said, like, what is going on with this thing? And he said, and I tweeted this out. You can find it on my Twitter account. I tweeted out the video by Jason Lloyd. And
I'm working on getting it right now for you, Jason.
He said he knew exactly when it was. He said 2 minutes left in the game. Chicago, if you remember back, the Chicago game at home was the last game before the All-Star break. And about 2 minutes left, he went into it. He was at the free throw line. He went into a deep bend like he always does. And he sort of like grimaced. He sort of flinched and grimaced. And you can see it clear as day in the video. And he said that was the first time he felt it. He didn't think anything of it. He just thought he was tired, sore, long game, long first half of the season, whatever. He would be fine. And clearly,
I have the video, Jason. You want me to play it for you?
Yeah, go ahead and play it.
And you could talk over it. It'll just loop.
You could see clearly where the flinch comes when he goes into the bend right there. That little hitch is when he said that's the first time that he felt the knee, and tried to play through it. Took a couple of days off coming back from All-Star. Tried to play through it, and he said it was the Washington game when he said he was dragging his leg up and down the court, and he felt like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not helping anybody out here. And he still tried to play 2 more games after that. Then he finally shut it down again. I think that's when they did the PRP injection, and it's just been bothering him. It's just tendonitis. He said it's just tendonitis, and the best thing for it is rest, which is why, you and I have both said, we've said on the show, that I think he's going to be okay by the time the playoffs begin. This week off, I think, who was it? Jay was trying to make the point, we'll sit him against Indiana and then play him against Charlotte. That made no sense. No, that didn't make any sense. Play him against Indiana, the big playoff. It could have been a playoff postseason or a preview. It could have been a playoff preview game. Win that game, get everything locked up that you can get locked up, and then sit him and give him this big block of time off. And that's how it worked out for them. So by the time they roll out the balls on Saturday, I would imagine he'll be as good as he's been certainly since the knee with all this time off. He should be. He felt like he was turning the corner already toward the end of the Indiana game. And the thing that was important, the only other nugget I would leave off of that is the fact that, I've said it all year, they got to play left-handed. You can't just expect Donovan to bail you out. Donovan is not, for as good as he is, and he's a wonderful talent, he's not the type of player that's going to carry a franchise through a postseason series. That's been proven. His team has lost in the first round 4 of the last 5 years. He needs help. He's not LeBron. He's not Giannis. He's not a guy who's going to strap a team on his back and win series after series after series. So you've got to find a way to win without him at times, and that's why, the 2 biggest possessions of that Indiana game, he didn't touch the ball, and he told me he was exhausted. He said he was flat out exhausted by that point. Darius hits the big 3, and then Darius to Strus on the action, and Strus is fouled shooting a 3-pointer, makes 2 of the 3 threes, and Donovan was not involved. That's really important, I think, because they have to – and Donovan said, like, that's something for them to build off of now. And when I talked to him last year about this, I said, would you ever punt a game just to send a message to the team of, like, figure out how to do this without me? And he said, no, absolutely not. I have to win every game I play. And then when I was talking the other night, he said, I had some things to learn too, and I had growth to do too. And now he feels differently about it. Now he kind of sees what I was talking about let these guys do it without you. And the last thing, it's funny because I've said it, for 2 years. The first thing you do, and you said it earlier, blitz Donovan. It's what the Knicks did. Blitz Donovan, get the ball out of his hands. Okay, now what do you have? And the Cavs didn't have anything else in their bag. Orlando is the one team that may not do that. Like, they'll just play straight up. They'll put Suggs on Donovan, have Jonathan Isaac behind him, and say, okay, big boy, what do you got? And that's the one team. It's interesting because I've said all along, like, they're going to – you blitz Donovan, get the ball out of his hands, and now you're forcing somebody else to make a play. Orlando, I'm curious to see how they guard him because they may not do that.
I know you got to run in a sec, Jason, so I'm going to read all. You can leave in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm gonna stick on and read a bunch of comments because we have over 300. I'm not reading all 300. Also, shout out to you guys, our most live views we've had on a Ultimate Cavs show since we've debuted. So we appreciate you guys. Tune in. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you do, hit the like button, subscribe. As always, seeing Donovan in person over the last 2 weeks, Jason, we saw him against Indiana, and that game in particular, we also saw him a little bit against Memphis. He looks so much more comfortable going laterally than he did during the West Coast road trip. Now, granted, we were watching the West Coast games on TV. The other two were up close personal, seeing it in person. But his lateral quickness and his ability to shift side to side looks pretty close to premier Donovan.
Yeah.
And against Indiana and Memphis, according to my unofficial track record, which is my memory, I think he was like 7 of 8 or 7 of 9 on pull-up threes going to his left. Just a little something to notice. He looked very, very comfortable off pick and rolls, dribbling with his left hand, 1-2 step pull, make.
Yeah.
His explosiveness towards the rim vertically, it's still not there. And maybe it will be after 10 days off, 9 days off, whatever it is, before game 1 against Orlando. But that's the part of his game that's still not back. But laterally speaking, which is maybe not equally as important as your verticality, but pretty damn important, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
He looked to be back to pretty close to where he was prior to being hurt. And maybe if he's at 80%, 85, whatever the number is, it's all arbitrary. If he has the ability to shift side to side and get through small creases in the defense, which will be especially difficult against this long, athletic Orlando defense, him getting in, creating them and forcing them to collapse and kicking out to the shooters, which is exactly what I want Cleveland not to do defensively against Orlando, I think is a key to beating a defense that is that compact and that tight like play. So
and one
they need him to be healthy, obviously.
Yeah.
But I thought the Indiana game, he looked as good as he had looked physically since he hurt himself prior to the All-Star break.
And one other point, these early round games, first round games, there's multiple days off. Usually we haven't seen the full schedule. A lot of times you get 2, maybe even 3 days off in between games. So that will help him obviously with recovery as well.